Time to bring the haters my way, baby. Let's do the next one. Right, we're doing the Booker long list, and this is the last one I'm going to read out of the long list. Okay, so when the Booker do their shortlist in 3 or 4 days' time, I will read the stragglers that I missed, that they put on the shortlist that I haven't read yet. But other than that, I am done with this fucking long list. I made it 8 books, and I quit. The stuff that I missed, I don't feel like I'm missing out on much. But if the stuff there gets shortlisted, I will read it. And I wanted to leave this book that we're going to talk about until last, because I read the first 5 or 10 pages, pretty much first, and I went, oh yeah, this is gonna get me going, I love this shit. And I wanted to wait and wade through all the other bullshit that I had to read before I could get to the sexy Pulitzer Prize winner in fucking lingerie smoking a cigarette, baby. Let's go! This book is This Other Eden by Paul Harding. Boy oh boy, it's time to suck some dick. So this book is not one people are digging, which is fair. It's definitely not for everyone. The author also seems like a bit of a fuckwit. I read an interview he gave for the Booker Prize that's on their website, and he was describing how he wrote most of the book on post-it notes, which is such a bizarre boast to make. It's like being a mum in a party with other mums and randomly saying at the party, well, my baby was a cesarean. Having said that, this book is phenomenal. Apparently I'm the only mortal man on earth who loved this book, and the reason for that is that all of you are reading this book wrong. What you guys are doing is you're buying a book like a normal person, you're opening it to page 1 like a normal person, and you're reading it from page to page like a normal person. No, you can't be doing that. What you have to do is, you have to get like a massive laptop. You have to make it so that the book is half the screen. You have to open up the Kindle app in your laptop. You have to make it half the screen, and you have to make the font the biggest possible font until there's only like 2 or 3 sentences on each page, so that you can read it on the train and some cunt on the other side of the train can still read it. I was reading this in my room and I could read it from the other side of the room, from the fucking living room. And you have to read it like that, and the reason for that is because this book is written in long paragraphs, the sentences are long, and it's dense as fuck. So you guys, listen, I hate to say it, you're all reading the book wrong, alright? You're just not as smart as me. I totally get why everyone is not willing to give this book their attention though, for sure. If you're reading through the Booker long list, and you come to a book like this, and you make it halfway, I can understand why you'd be like, nah, fuck this, I quit. Like, yeah, like, why would you pay attention? I totally get it. What I said about the Kindle thing is, of course, a joke, but it is also what I did. I didn't make it so massive that it was 2 or 3 sentences, but I did make the font bigger because I wanted to split away from the really long paragraphs, because I wanted to read each sentence as a sentence. What I got from the first 10 pages of this book was that it was going to be dense, but it was also going to be immensely rewarding to me, and I wanted to really take my time. This book took me well over a week to read, I'm not gonna lie, and it's not like I read it constantly, but it took me a long time to read because I wanted to digest and I wanted to process it as I read it. I read every single sentence and I absorbed this book. I thought it was so magical, and I thought it was so detailed and so beautifully written, and I thought the emotion in it was so powerful, and I was being reminded of Gabriel Garcia Marquez in a way that was an insult to neither of them. I felt like it was a fair comparison in this sense. It was a really great book to me, and I thoroughly loved it. The structure of this book is actually like incredible to me. I love the gliding overall godlike look where you're just sort of flowing from perspective to perspective where it mattered, and you'd go back and forth from the mainland, and you'd be on this character and you'd see a little bit of their normal life, and then you'd flow to the next person, and the fact that it did it consistently meant that I never felt like it was being sort of cheap or that none of the characters were very well developed. I really got a good sense of every character. I remembered all their names by the end. I really had a good feeling on knowing where everybody's psychology was by the end of the book, for sure. The first, like, third of this book was a genuine, like, amazing piece of work. It felt so magical, all of the people were so interesting, the way he described their lives was great. The opening of this book is fantastic. I've read it like 4 or 5 times now. This magical realist image of the whole family grabbing onto one tree as a massive storm is blowing over the island, and it felt like this really mythical way that knowledge is diluted over time. It's being told by this 100-year-old grandmother who's remembering the past, and she's putting like biblical themes into it, and it's just like, it's sort of mutated over time, this memory that she has, and it's become this really sort of magical story. I loved that so much. It was so great, and it was a great way to bring the reader into the world straight away. It fucking locked you in immediately. I loved it. It was so rich and so delicious and so full of life. And the decline down to where it suddenly got sad and started to hit you like a ton of bricks, it was so gradual and so planned out. I really felt like the book's plot was really strong and it moved properly, and I didn't feel confused at any point, although I understand why people are, because if you're looking at a paragraph, you're not going to read the whole paragraph sentence by sentence, so you are going to miss things, and those things are important. It is in the little details, this book, in some ways, and I can't blame anyone for not bothering to give the book their attention. I totally get it. I thought the humor in this book was really strong too, because this book feels very dark and inevitable by the second half, but I felt like the characters were very funny and quirky without the author making fun of them. It's a hard thing to do. I understand, it's a hard balance to hit, and I feel like the author just hits it perfectly. Home runs every time with each of the characters. They're all idiosyncratic, and they're all realized through very strange images. There's one moment I remember of the weird girl rabbit where she's biting the arms off a starfish. That was just an image that stuck in my head. I loved that. I think my favorite character had to be the one who was going back and forth from the mainland, Matthew Diamond, and he's the one who picks the boy to save, as it says on the back cover. I thought he was a great character, and I thought he was really well fleshed out. And you didn't necessarily like him as a person, but I felt like his viewpoint was the one I enjoyed being in the most. I learned the most about the world when I was watching it through his eyes, for sure. The appearance of modernity in this book also felt like a real staple of classic literature, and the frankness and the progression of that plot beat was really something special to me. I really felt like the book knew what it was doing. For example, like the first moment when they're all measured for their like width and that, so that they can come and start implementing eugenics or whatever. That's done, and then the book literally says, alright, and then they all packed up and left. And then the next bit you see is a newspaper clipping where it talks about the results of that. And that felt like a very quick and appropriate way to implement that theme using the style that the author had already shown. Putting in the newspaper clippings at points was fine, and I felt like it worked. I will say I feel like it did it a little too much. I felt like we could have gone to the places where the newspaper clippings are describing discussions and seen those events, and it wouldn't have taken away from the rules that the book had established for its style and the way that it saw characters. I felt like it could have done that and it would have been fine, but it was the book's choice and I was okay with the choice for the most part. It did do it a lot though. Not all of the humor's great, some of it's a little dumb. Two of the characters have weird eyes and their names are Violet and Iris. Like, are we serious? That's a little cheap. We also cut away from the island for a little bit to focus on a different perspective, which is a complaint I've seen from other people. And the book needed to do that. That was an important point in the plot to do it. But it felt like it paused the pacing a little bit in, I guess, the middle. Was it the middle that happened? I think it was. But I don't know. I felt like it paused the pacing a little bit in that point, and I wasn't as invested in that bit. It lost me a little bit at that point. And it's not like I think the book is a masterpiece. I don't think Apple Island is this kind of like metaphor. It doesn't have this massive social relevance for today. It's just a really well-told historical story with lots of great emotion and great characters, and it's short and it's very fast moving and it's detailed and it's funny and characterful, and I did love it. I just don't think it's gonna, like, it's not like amazing, it's not something that changed my life, but I did find it really strong and really well written. But as I said, it's told extremely well, it's told with such ease. I was tearing up at the ending. I was tearing up. It was like the final destruction of Macondo by Marquez. It was fantastic. I thought the ending was so good, and I can't wait to read the book again. I really can't. I'm gonna get more out of it. The darkness never felt like it was butting heads with the characterfulness of the story. Like, the ending was perfect, and it was the perfect emotional punch at the end, and it felt like it tied back to the beginning where we saw like a very mythical moment. It's a very mythical moment we end on. I can totally empathize with people who aren't willing to give this book their full attention. There are a few books that have received similar treatment from me. Old God's Time received the minimum amount of attention, as Mark Zuckerberg would say. You have part of my attention, you have the minimum amount. Let me just say, I'm gonna give this book an 8 out of 10. It could move up to a 9, I feel comfortable with that, but for now it's an 8. I really want this to get on the shortlist. I think it will, because the main judge on the Booker committee put a quote on the front of the cover saying she loved it. which was so weird to me. Finally, I have the one that I want to win the Booker, and I really think this could get on the shortlist. And when it does get on the shortlist, everybody will be mad but me. So there you go, fuckers.